Using influencers to market your care home? It's not Kim Kardashian or Joe Rogan. Join us today with our very special guest, Shawn Medlin, owner of multiple care homes with a combined 60 beds in Houston. Shawn has been in the game for 9 years, starting out as a home study course student of the Residential Assisted Living Academy. His success comes from never taking his foot off the pedal. From leveraging influencers to creating marketing strategies that work while you sleep, Shawn is sharing all of his secrets, plus his take on the love-hate relationship that REL homes have with waitlists, and how running multiple homes can set him apart. Hey, it's Isabel with the Assisted Living Network podcast. Let's get into it. In the United States right now, there are 76 million baby boomers. The number one dilemma for these baby boomers? Housing. That dilemma can be your opportunity. Welcome to the Assisted Living Network podcast, where you can discover how just one residential assisted living home could secure your financial future forever. Well, welcome to the show, Shawn. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to see you.
Good to see you. I want to talk all about marketing because I feel like you are the king of marketing, getting wait lists, filling your beds. So let's dive right in. What has been one of the best ways to fill your beds?
Best way to fill beds. It's a multi-pronged approach. I make a really strong effort to stay front of mind with people in the community. And what I call our healthcare partners, case managers at hospitals, home health, hospice agencies, things like that. I want everyone in the community to always have our business, front of mind. That's super important. And so one of the ways that I accomplish that is through video. I love shooting video, and video is a great tool to tell a story. And so, over the years, with Facebook ads and things like that, you can get really hyper focused on a particular area. And, I remember when we opened our newest location, a 16 bed that I built from the ground up, I ran Facebook ads to these affluent neighborhoods within a 5-mile radius.
Oh, that's tight.
Very tight. And
I love it.
I wanted to let everyone in the community had seen the construction and everything, and so that was a good way to let people know, hey, we're open and that sort of thing. So I love to use video. I still maintain a pretty strong email list. I'll do broadcast emails, and then I make a point, almost every week, if we have a vacancy, which we haven't had in a while, but I've got a text thread going with, multiple, what I call influencers, those that can help find residents, whether it be case management or it can be, referral placement agents, things like that, letting them know we've got a bed open.
Yeah. I think it's so important what you're saying. Stay top of mind. It's not just running to them when you have the open bed. It's the communication that happens all between. It's building the genuine relationship. So when you have the open bed, you can just send the simple text or send the email and get that filled. It's not like you're a stranger coming back saying, help me again, help me again. You have the relationship built.
Exactly. And those relationships they're important,
Yeah.
And so, those are just a few of the ways that we have found have, helped us be successful over the years of staying full.
Yep. Do you do most of that marketing, or does your licensed administrator do it?
I am still, there are certain areas of the business that I don't know if I'll ever let go of. Now it's, with young kids and, crazy schedules, it's harder for me to be the ones that are always doing the tour or, going to different events. We will still sponsor, coffee or breakfast or cocktails after hours at these different senior living things. Sometimes I'll just throw our logo in the brochure and pay the bill, but I'm not able to go. And then other times I'll have one of our administrators go. But when it comes to, doing video and things like that. That's usually me on camera doing those marketing initiatives.
And I think that it goes, it should be said that there are certain things that every owner will come in saying, this is my skill set. And it's actually not work for me to do this. I don't mind doing this. It's not difficult. You enjoy, doing those videos. So you're like, I don't mind it. I'll do it. Versus you have to go hire someone to do it. And they're like, they have, they need a script and they don't know what to wear and what to say. And it's like traumatizing for them. And you're like, takes me nothing. So you have to use your skills. If you loved cooking, maybe you want to go grill there every weekend, whatever it is, play to your strengths.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay. What marketing does not pay off in your opinion?
Marketing that does not pay off, print advertising is just so stinking hard to, measure any sort of ROI on that, right? And, we've done, at least with Facebook ads or even ads like on Nextdoor, this app, which we've done that before as well. At least I can track click-through rates and things like that. But when you place a static ad in printed, in a newspaper or some sort of bulletin or things like that, it's hard to track. It's hard to measure any return on that. And so I get approached. I think there's only one publication that I'm a big fan of that we still advertise in, Community Impact magazine, because that's pretty focused. I think you guys get that out there in Arizona as well. But it's that one's a little bit more focused, and but now, unless it's a magazine or something that's I know is going to hit a lot of mailboxes. Even then, I don't want to do an ad. I want the cover. And but print is a little harder.
Yeah, I fully agree with you on that. And I think that, your care homes seasons as a brand, you've done such an incredible job being intentional with the branding. It looks so professional, so trustworthy. I see it. I know exactly who you are. All of the homes have that same branding. Was there intention behind it? Because it looks like there was. And I want to hear about that.
Yeah, so we got our start in this business by making an acquisition, and the young lady that we had purchased the care home from, it was only licensed for 6 beds. And I loved her to death. We still stay in touch, but she, you almost had to go to church with her to know about it. She had no sign in the yard, no website, no brochure, but if you knew her, then you knew about her little 6-bed care home. It was called The Seasons on Water Street.
Okay.
Name of her. And I make a joke sometimes to my wife. I'm like thinking about like Justin Timberlake and Mark Zuckerberg during Facebook, like, let's drop the seasons. Just call it Seasons. And so we did. And, it stuck, and we formed, new corporations and just leaned into that. And so, as we've continued to grow, I've just made it a point to, just continue to promote the brand. We've, over the years, Isabel, we've won lots of awards, for best assisted living or, things like that. And I always say it's not because of me, and it's not because of how pretty the homes are or the decor. It's truly about the staff that we hire. We're very picky, but we should be. That's someone's mom or dad. And anyway, so yeah, going back to the brand, I think more people, and your listeners that are getting into this business, or maybe they've been in this business for a while and they're wanting to scale, they really need to they need to think bigger. If you're going to think, you might as well just think a lot bigger, and think about what would it look like if you were to have multiple locations. How would you brand that? And create a name and a logo that's gonna. It doesn't matter which city you're in or even state. If you're at that place, you're at the best, right?
Yep. There's a lot to be said with that. I mean, there's a reason that Brookdale, Sunrise, Atria, right? It's all these one word names that are somewhat meaningful, somewhat meaningless, but it's a word that we know how to spell, read, and write. And you're right along that with seasons. It could be anywhere. It's not tied to Texas, where your homes are there in Houston. You could have them anywhere, but it's a name everyone knows how to spell, read, and write. And to me, it's actually way more meaningful than all of those names, because this is about the seasons of life, and they're in that season of life. And so it's amazing. I want to hear about wait lists, because people in this industry always talk about having a wait list. Do you even think that wait lists work? Are they worthwhile? Do you go for building the wait list, or tell me what you think about that?
Well, I have a love-hate relationship with waitlist, and I'll tell you why. It's because, a lot of times when we do get a resident, they're in the middle of a transition, right? Maybe they had a fall at home, they're at the hospital, and now they're about to be discharged, and their spouse or their kids are like, it's not safe, they need to go somewhere.
Right.
And when that happens, that's when I put my red cape on and we swing into action, right? And so a lot of our residents come to us in a time of need. There's been an incident, something has happened. And so when it comes to wait list, I'm in this situation right now where I have no empty beds, yet our phone still continues to ring. And our newest location is in a very, very high traffic location on a state highway, lots of traffic. So we have a lot of people just popping in. And, which is kind of new to us, because our other two locations are in a quiet little neighborhood, and you almost have to know about it a little bit or be looking for it. And so we have a lot of people walking in, and they want a tour, and we're always down to give a tour, but it's I hate telling people no. I want to help everybody, but we're just in a situation right now at most of our locations where everyone's pretty healthy. And we may have a couple on hospice, but right now I feel like I've got a bunch of golden girls at my newest location. I mean, they're playing chess and checkers and baking. They own that place.
Yeah.
And so when a family tours and they express interest, I do get their information, and I've got a CRM that I use, and I track all that stuff. But I encourage them to check back in with me, periodically, and I'll do the same if something opens up. But I don't take money to be on the wait list. I know some people do that.
They do, yeah.
Because I don't want to deposit someone's check and months and months and months go by and they're like, hey, what about the check? Or, it's just, it's weird. So I just would rather just like, hey, let's make a deal. Why don't you shoot me a text in, say, 4 weeks from now, and I'll do the same. I'll set some reminders, whatever, and follow up with you. And if something changes in the meantime, let's get in touch. And so that's just kind of my my personal way of doing it. Yeah. Again, it varies, but again, we're in a situation where we don't really have many open beds. So when one does open, all I have to do is send a text to a couple people, and here comes the next one.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because people do that all the time. They'll say, you could be on my wait list and you just have to pay, X dollar amount, and you can even move up higher the more you pay and stuff like that. And that is where my thought always goes. What if you don't have an opening for 6 months? Well, are they going to ask for their check back? What if they need to move in somewhere now, which we all know that's the name of the game in this business. Many times it's not I'm looking for 6 months. No. You're looking for this Friday. You need it right now. I think that just taking that money you get into a very sketchy zone. On that note, when you're getting leads and you're full, if you're not necessarily building like the wait list, you kind of are, but do you get into the placement agent game yourself, where you start saying, hey, I'm full, but I know Joe Schmo down the road, he's got a great home, and you pass the lead to maybe someone else, or do you stay out of that too?
I know some folks that have gotten into that. My plate is pretty full. To me, this is about service. This is my
Yeah.
purpose-driven business. And so, for me to charge another assisted living down the road for a lead that I brought him, there's money to be made there, I'm sure. But it's just not.
Yeah.
That's just not what I do. It's not something that I'm interested in. We've got multiple revenue streams coming in, and it's just, again, I want to be known as the guy that just, swooped in and did everything he could to help somebody, whether I'm being compensated for it or not. And that's just kind of a personal thing, a preference that I just want to help everyone. I don't have to get
Yeah. I think that's important for people to hear, that sometimes it is just genuinely about helping people, and it's not the dollar amount. Like, it's different for everybody. Their reasons are different, but if that's where your heart is, it's okay to say, yeah, no, I'm not going to play that game. I don't want to do that. Now, you came and did our online home study course 2016. Can you believe? 9 years ago, Shawn. It's been so long. But after that course, you purchased an existing home, as you shared earlier, and now 3 up and running homes with the 4th on the way. I mean, in crazy success that you've had with this. Does having multiple homes help with marketing and filling beds because you have options?
Yeah, 100% it does. I have 2 locations that are maybe 20 minutes apart from one another.
Okay.
And then I have this outlier, my very first one, that's much further. It's 45 minutes away, and it's in a different area, different
Okay.
part of town. And but my newest location is on 6 acres that I bought.
Wow.
And location number 4 is actually going to be right next door. And so I am now making my own little memory care cul-de-sac, because I've got the space to do it.
Yeah.
And but when the call does come in, I always, if I'm full at one location, I always let everybody know, hey, I think we do have a private or a semi-private room open at this other location. And so, yes, the best thing that we ever did was just keep our foot on the gas. When I go back and rewind the tape and I look at our success over the years, I think one of the things that I can really contribute to that is I never stopped wanting to scale.
Yeah.
Even after I took the 6-bed home and got it licensed for 14, I was already working on number 2. And then when number 2 was coming along, I'm like, okay, where's number 3 going to be? And so, I think a lot of people, they get that first one going, and they just stay there for a while. And I think that our trajectory is what it is because I just kept wanting to scale the business. And the returns from that have been tremendous.
Yeah. We say it in class all the time, right? Having more than one home does help you with this, whether it's location diversity, price point diversity, amenity, or, if you're offering memory care in some homes and not in others. Like, there's so many things you can do that, even though the homes could be in the same, the greater Houston area or whatever, it's so different depending on where you are. Phoenix is a very similar market where it's like, we call it Phoenix, but really it's 10 different cities in one. So it's so nice to have that flexibility. And, I think that is such a testament to just who you and, your amazing wife, Marissa, are, is that you guys have kept your foot on the pedal. You have gone, and gone even harder. And you're not stopping. Like, you still have this keeping going. And that is such an inspiration to so many listeners who are thinking, I got my first one, but now I'm in over my head. And sometimes it's like, you just got to keep going, because it actually gets easier the more you have. Being able to not just share marketing, share resources in general.
100%. That was one of the things that I was most excited about, having 2 locations very close to one another, is I can share staff.
Yep.
I can share cleaning products. I can, when we go to Costco or Sam's and buy in bulk, I can split that up between homes.
Yep.
And so the economies of scale, it's a real thing. And once it kicks in, it's a game changer.
Yep.
It
I
really
agree.
is.
What is your best advice for someone who's listening who is struggling to fill their beds?
My best advice for someone struggling to fill beds would probably be, get out and do the thing that you're probably avoiding, which is connecting with influencers. Again, influencers are people that home health, hospice, bath aides, case managers, physicians, you name it, social workers. Get out and meet people.
Yep.
Oftentimes we know the right things to do. It's just sometimes we just don't want to do them because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But if I were to be in that situation, and I've been in that situation, I would go and buy some cookies and get my pens and my brochures and my business cards, and I would hit the streets. And I would go out and I would talk to people, and I would invite them to come back for a tour. Let me show you this thing that we've got, this place. I want you to hear my vision. And then I would also, I would incorporate video, and I would start running ads, and get eyeballs, and some traction, and some visibility to your care home.
Yep. The videos that you have spent so much time, creating and really telling the story of the home, they are 10 out of 10. I'm presuming they bring you a lot of marketing attention in that way. If people want to check out your, webpage and see these videos, how do they find you and your care home?
Yeah, so our website address, meetseasons.com. And I think one of our videos from our second location in Conroe, it's that one's on YouTube. It's about 3 minutes long. You can just go to YouTube and type in Seasons Conroe, Conroe. It'll pop up. And, the concept there, how sometimes when you're going through a project or, even family stuff at home, you record, and when I was doing the construction, when I was doing the demolition and all that stuff, I just, by nature, I would grab my phone and I would record, not even really knowing what I was going to do with that footage, right? And I have found myself doing that a lot over the years. And so, when we were ready to open, I gathered all that footage and hired a local team, and I said, let's use this footage and tell a story, And Isabel, that story is one that, thanks to video and YouTube, when I have a family that's interested in coming by for a tour, I send them that YouTube link. I send that link to placement agencies and caseworkers and things like that. So it's marketing for me, even when I'm not out doing it. So, but you can look up Seasons on Facebook or on Instagram, YouTube, things like that.
I love it. Before we wrap up today, I want to hear from you with your extensive background in this industry, years and years in the game. What has been the most rewarding thing for you about this business?
I've got lots of stories over the years. I think the coolest thing for me is when a resident passes away and the family comes back. And when they come back to plant a tree, to hand me an envelope of cash and say, Shawn, I want you to divide this up amongst all the caregivers here. And they come back and they say, thank you. Thank you, Shawn, that mom or dad, they were here with you when they passed. They weren't in a skilled nursing unit or in a hospital. To me, that speaks volumes. And of course, I always feel like a proud father when my staff gets compliments. When I do go into the building and a family member sees me and they just want to tell me a story about how one of the gals just busted out an amazing meal today at lunch, or how someone went above and beyond. Those stories, they make me very proud. This week, I mean, we had snow, like a lot of snow, move through Houston, which rarely happens. Like
Yeah.
years go by, and we had multiple homes that we had staff. They all just volunteered. I didn't even get involved. They're like, okay, I'm going to spend the night this night, and I'll stay 24 hours here, and like we had everyone stepped up, and the families were just incredibly grateful, and those are the stories that I love to hear. That tells me that we're doing something right. But
Yeah.
the biggest is just, again, when the families say, "Thank you for taking my mom or my dad and letting them live here. You guys truly did serve hard and do a great thing."
I love that. And that's Shawn's motto right there, serve hard. And if you're going to get into this industry, you got to get prepared to serve hard. So I love that. You are such an inspiration, a positive guy to follow online. We're going to put seasons in the show notes, how to connect with you in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
You're just a rock star, a legend, an OG Rolla student. And I'm grateful to, all the listeners here who are getting to hear Shawn's heart and just kind of dive into his business, his expertise on staffing. So connect with him if you want to learn more and go check out Seasons. Thanks so much for being here on the show.
Yeah. Great to see you again, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Woohoo. Thanks.